Tzadi Gimel, page 197. Siman Tov Tzadi Gimel. Okay, we're not going to give this siman the full treatment because we're using it to help us understand about Lag BaOmer. Right? It's talking all about the different halachas that apply during the Omer. Okay, let's start with siman Aleph. Sif Aleph. Noagim shelo liso isha bein Pesach latzeres ad Lag BaOmer. So it's a minhag not to get married between Pesach and Shavuos until Lag BaOmer. Because at that time the students of Rabbi Akiva died. Okay, one can get engaged. If someone did get married, then we don't punish him. Hago says the however, from Lag BaOmer and onwards, everything is allowed. Okay, so we can see that during the period of the Omer, it's a sad period because the Talmidim of Rabbi Akiva died during that period. From Lag BaOmer onwards, the sad period has ended. Okay. At the moment, we don't see any particular reason to be extra happy on Lag BaOmer, other than that it's the end of the period when the Talmidim of Rabbi Akiva died. Sif Beis. Let's carry on with the Shulchan Aruch. Noyagim shelo listaper ad Lag BaOmer. The minhag is not to have haircuts until the 33rd day of the Omer. She'omrim she'oz posku melamos, because then they stop dying. Ve'ein listaper ad yom lamed daled baboker. One shouldn't have a haircut until the 34th in the morning. Elem kein chol yom lamed gimel erev Shabbos she'oz mistapen bo mibnei kved Shabbos. Unless the day of Lag BaOmer fell on erev Shabbos, in which case one can, because of kved Shabbos, have a haircut on that day. So according to the opinion of the Shulchan Aruch, on Lag BaOmer itself, one cannot have a haircut. Lag BaOmer is part of the days of Avelus. On the 34th, then one can have a haircut. However, if the 34th fell on Shabbos, then on Erev Shabbos, which is day 33, one can have a haircut. Says the Ramah, Hago. This is not the custom in our area, says the Ramah. But we have haircuts even on day 33. So the Ramah says, and this is definitely our minhag, that already on day 33, on Yom Lamed Gimel, we already have haircuts and start with all the other things that we didn't do during the Omer.
So,
sorry? So we haven't seen that yet. Very good. So the Mishnah Berurah writes that. If we have a look at the Mishnah Berurah, no, sorry, it says the next words of the Ramah himself. One shouldn't have a haircut until Lag BaOmer itself and not at night. So the Ramah himself writes that during the day of Lag BaOmer, but not during the night of Lag BaOmer. Sorry, what did you want to?
So this means the Sfardim don't do haircuts on Lag BaOmer itself?
Presumably. I'm not an expert in Sfardim and Hagim, but assuming they follow the Shulchan Aruch,
right,
like they usually do, then they wouldn't have it on the 33rd itself. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so we've seen here that during the first 33 days we have Minhag Avelus, certain things we don't do because it's a sad period. On the 33rd we can resume with the regular activities. But we saw that the Ramah added in some extra words, right? Besides resuming the regular activities, says the Ramah, Umar bin boi k'ta simcha. Right, the words we just read in the bottom line of the page. The Ramah says, Umar bin boi k'ta simcha, we increase in happiness a little bit. K'tas. Okay? So there's an increase in happiness. So it's not just about continuing going back to our regular activities, we are actually being joyful, right? Okay. So why? Why are we being joyful? Again, presumably because of the same reason, that this is when the Talmidim stop dying, therefore it's a day of happiness, that the Talmidim stop dying on that day. Okay. Now, as we're all familiar, right? Anyone who lives in this country, especially in this part of the country, Meron, everyone flocks to Meron and Lag BaOmer. Right? Everyone flocks to Meron and Lag BaOmer. I think up to 500,000 people are going to be traveling there. So what's all this about? Why is everyone going to Meron and Lag BaOmer? Okay, so if we have a look at the Shulchan Aruch, let's see how I've got in front of you. the Teres Zikanim was on the side of the Shulchan Aruch. He writes the following. Minhag Eretz Yisrael. It's the custom in Eretz Yisrael. Shenogin leilech al kivri Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai zav Rabbi Elazar b'noi b'yom Lag BaOmer. It's the minhag in Eretz Yisrael to go to the cave of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and his son Rabbi Elazar on Lag BaOmer. V'heid Rabbi Avraham Halevi shu haya noig tamid lo yimar nachem b'berkas tishkoi. וכשעשים התפילה אומר לרבי יצחק לא יזם משום משום ביוחאי הכובשום שאומר לו איש הזה למה הוא אומר נחם ביום שמחוסי וכן הוא יהיה בן החומר בקורב וכן הוא ישמש לבני הגורב. The story is brought here about the Arizal. That there was someone called Rabbi Avraham Halevi who would always say Nachem he would always say Nachem was that he was is the morning tefillah about the Beis HaMikdash being destroyed. And he happened to say this on Lag BaOmer when he was at the cave of Shimon Bar Yochai. And when he finished davening, it's Shemona Esrei, the Arizal said to him, that Shimon Bar Yochai had said to him that he should tell off Rabbi Avraham Halevi for saying Nachum, the sad tefillah, on Lag BaOmer at the Kevin Shimon Bar Yochai, because Lag BaOmer is Yom Simchos, the day of my happiness. And in fact, because of this, his son died. Okay, so we can see here that there's more to Lag BaOmer than first meets the eye. Right? It's not just a day when the Talmidim Rabbi Akiva stop dying. It also seems to be the day of the happiness of the Shimon Bar Yochai. Right? The Shimon Bar Yochai, the Arizal said that the Shimon Bar Yochai said to the Arizal, "This is Yom Simchosi. This is the day of my happiness." Okay? Now, what's the connection here between? Is there any connection between the Talmidim of Rabbi Akiva stopped dying, and all of a sudden Lag BaOmer has turned into the day of the Yom Simchosi, the day of the Shimon Bar Yochai's happiness, which is the reason why everyone goes to Meron, which, as we've just discovered, is not a new minhag. It's, as the Teres Zikanim describes it, minhag Eretz Yisrael. It's the custom of Eretz Yisrael. This was written hundreds of years ago. It's the custom of Eretz Yisrael to go to the cave of Shimon Bar Yochai.
And it's on the day that he died. Is the day of his happiness.
We haven't yet anywhere seen that it was the day he died. At the moment we've seen that it's the day when the Talmidim of Shimon Bar Yochai stopped dying, and we've seen that it's the day of the happiness of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai.
Okay.
We haven't yet seen if Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai himself died on that day. We haven't yet seen that. Okay. Let's investigate this a little bit more. Okay, I'm going to read to you now. As we've seen that the source of this idea of going to the grave of Shimon Bar Yochai originates from the Arizal. Right, so it's obviously based deeply in Kabbalah. So we're going to try and understand what we can understand from the writings in the Kabbalah.
So this was a tradition that began with the Arizal?
Yes, correct. Okay. That's what we're discovering now. Okay, so let's have a look now. I'm going to read to you now something from Shara Kavonis. Right, Shara Kavonis was written by Rabbi Chaim Vital, one of the Talmidim of Arizal. Okay. So he writes the following: Inyan minhag shenohagu Yisrael oleches b'yom Lag BaOmer al kivre Shimon Bar Yochai v'Rabbi Elazar b'noi asher kvurim be'ir Meron. The matter of the custom that Yisrael that the Jews are accustomed to go to on the 33rd day of the Omer to the graves of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and his son Rabbi Elazar, who are buried in the city of Meron, as is well known. V'oichlim v'shoisim usmeichim. If you go and you want to know what the minhag is, exactly what you're supposed to do there, it says that says in Chaim Vital, v'oichlim, eat v'shoisim, and drink v'smeichim, be merry. Right? Eat, drink, and be merry. It's a day of happiness. Right? It's a day when Klal Yisrael are knowing to rejoice at the grave of Shimon Bar Yochai, to eat and drink and be merry. So he says, I saw our Rebbe, the Arizal, I saw that he went there on the day of Lag BaOmer. Him and his whole family. The Arizal with his whole family went, this is the source of the minhag, the Arizal and his whole family went to Meron on Lag BaOmer. And he was there for 3 days. This is the first time he came from Mitzrayim. Arizal was in Mitzrayim at the time, and he came all the way to Meron for Lag BaOmer. The Reb Chaim Vital says, I don't know it. The first time he went, I don't know if the Arizal was familiar yet with Kabbalah or not, which is very interesting. A very interesting point that he adds in here, because Reb Chaim Vital is suggesting that the reason to go to Lag BaOmer to go to Meron on Lag BaOmer is not connected to Kabbalah. He doesn't know if the Arizal was yet familiar with Kabbalah. Okay. והרב יונס שגיש הדלי שבשנה האחת קודם שהלכתי אני אצלו ללמוד עם אריזל. Says Reb Chaim Vital, the year before I became a Talmid Arizal, the year before I started learning from the Arizal, I heard from one of his other Talmidim that he took his young son there together with his whole family. He shaved his head, he cut his hair, and he made their day of happiness. So we also see here the minhag of the option of cutting the hair of the child at the cave of Shimon Bar Yochai on Lag BaOmer. It's also recorded here. גם הידור רבי אברהם הלוי, כי בשנה הנזכר הולך גם הוא שם וינהג לו בכל יום בברכת תשכון נחי השם אלוקינו, אס אבי אלי ציון וכו'. וגם ביוסף שם המנחים, ואחרי שגם העמידו, אומרים זה הקירוע בהוקץ, אס רבי שמעון בר יוחאי, עומד על קברוי. ואומר לו, אמור אלו איש הזה, אברהם הלוי, כי לא מועים מנחים והם שמחוסינו. So he brings here the story also that we saw mentioned in the Teres Kenim. The source of the Teres Kenim is indeed the Sharach Kavonis. That the story about Rabbi Avraham Alevi, who said Nachem, the morning tefillah for the Beis Hamikdash during his Shemona Esrei. He said this on Lag BaOmer at the cave of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, and then Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai said to the Arizal saw in a vision Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai said to him that he should tell Rabbi Avraham that he shouldn't have done this because it's the day of our happiness. Right? Here the Lashon is B'yom Simchoseinu, the day of our happiness. Right. The wording we saw in that Teres Kenim was B'yom Simchosi, the day of my happiness. Here which is the original source said B'yom Simchoseinu, the day of our happiness. Now who is us? Who is whose happiness? Yeah. Right? The Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and who else? Right? Including other people in this happiness. Okay. No. And the result was, as we mentioned, Rabbi Avraham Alevi, his son died. Because the reason why I wrote all this is to show you that there is a source for this happiness on Lag BaOmer. And especially, we find in it discovering a connection. What's the connection between the fact that the Talmidim, or the students of Rabbi Akiva, stopped dying on Lag BaOmer, and the fact that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai all of a sudden it's the day of his happiness on Lag BaOmer? What's the connection? So the connection is quite obvious. It's pointed out here by Yochai Vital in Shar Kavonis. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was one of the 5 great Talmidim of Rabbi Akiva. Right? If we have a look at the Gemara, I'm going to read you the Gemara in Yevamos, which mentions this. Rabbi Akiva Omer, says Rabbi Akiva, Lo ma Torah b'yalduso, if he learned Torah when he was young, Yom Torah b'zeknuso, he should still learn Torah even when he's old. Hoi lo talmidim b'yalduso, if he had students when he was young, Yeh lo talmidim b'zeknuso, he should also have students when he's old. Shene'emar b'boker zera zerecho, v'lo erev al tanach yodecho. Right? As it says in the Pasuk, in the morning you sow the seeds, and even in the evening he should not let up, he should also do it. Omu shnei moso elef zugim talmidim hoylo Rabbi Akiva megeves and tifras. Rabbi Akiva had 12,000 pairs of talmidim, meaning 24,000 talmidim from Geves until Antifras, meaning spanning the whole of Eretz Yisrael. He was the godladder of the time. He had 24,000 talmidim. The Chulon Meisu B'Perek Echad, and they all died at the same time, because they didn't give enough respect to each other. We see here their greatness. Attributing respect, not attributing enough respect to another person, is not generally an aveir, is not generally a sin which is liable with the death penalty. Not reason to be killed. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu medaktim in Chasiz of Chut HaSayrim, when you talk about very great people, then even when very great people do even things which for regular people is not so terrible, for them they are held accountable in a great way. And therefore the Talmid of Rabbi Akiva, who was such great, the Talmidei Chachomim, not showing enough respect to each other, was for them a sin which required the death penalty. They all died. Rabbi Akiva now, who's the God Lador, all his Talmidim had died. Right? Who's going to continue the Torah into the next generation? We're not just talking about any Talmidei Chachomim here. We're talking about the continuation of Torah Shebaal Peh. This is, remember, before the Mishnah had been written down. Torah Shebaal Peh was still being passed down by word of mouth. It had not been written down. Rabbi Akiva was the transmitter of Torah Shebaal Peh. He was the one who passed it down to the next generation. As at the moment, seems to be no continuation for the Torah Shebaal Peh. What's going to happen to the Torah? So as Rabbi Akiva himself darshed in the pasuk we saw before, even if you had Talmidim when you were young, continue and have more, learn more Torah and have more Talmidim when you're old, teach more Talmidim when you're older. Rabbi Akiva did this himself. Rabbi Akiva went to the south and found students over there, and he taught them Torah. Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Elazar. 5 Talmidim. Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Yossi, and Rabbi Elazar. There's different girosos of this. In Shar Kavonos, Rabbi Nechemia is one of the Talmidim, still Rabbi Yossi. Now these Talmidim anyone who's familiar with Mishnah will know that our Mishnah is based on these Talmidim. They're the most common Tanoim brought of the Mishnah, because they transmitted Torah Shebaal Peh. After Rabbi Akiva died, the next generation was these Talmidim. And after the 24,000 Talmidim of Rabbi Akiva died, these 5 Talmidim were the ones who continued Torah Shebaal Peh. The reason why we have Torah nowadays, all the Torah we have nowadays, is because of these 5 Rabbonim. The Mishnah writes that the Gemara writes that Stam Mishnah Rabbi, if you have a Stam Mishnah, which is and the Mishnah that's written, a halacha written in a Mishnah unnamed, then it's Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir, who's one of these 5 Talmidim. If there's anything written in the Mishnah without a name, it's Rabbi Meir who wrote it. And the Gemara goes on to explain as well the Brises and Toseftas and Toras Kohanim. If they're written without a name, there's always one of the Talmidim of Rabbi Akiva who wrote it. So these 5 Talmidim of Rabbi Akiva, they are the source of all the Torah Shebaal Peh we have, whether it's Mechilta, whether it's Sifros, Sifri Toras Kohanim, and it all originates from Rabbi Akiva and his Talmidim. So this is clearly why we're so happy. It's because the period of Sfiras Omer, when the Talmidim of Rabbi Akiva died, was not just a tragedy because such great Talmidei Chacham had died. It was a tragedy because the whole continuation of Torah Shebaal Peh was at jeopardy. This is why we're sad during the period of the Omer. And therefore, why are we happy on Lag BaOmer? It's not just the period when they stopped dying. It's the period of the continuation. It's the time when Rabbi Akiva went down south and continued Torah Shebaal Peh by passing on to these 5 new Talmidim. And this gave us a continuation of Torah Shebaal Peh. This is why we're going to Lag BaOmer this is why we're going to Meron on Lag BaOmer, to celebrate the fact that there was a continuation to Torah Shebaal Peh, to the oral law. All the Torah we have nowadays, one can't understand the written law without the oral law. We wouldn't have Torah if not for Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and the 4 other Talmidim of Rabbi Akiva who kept Torah Shebaal Peh going into
These 5 had not learned with Rabbi Akiva previously?
That's what the Gemara says. They were not previous Talmidim of Rabbi Akiva. Well, it sounds like all the Talmidim of Rabbi Akiva died. Rabbi Akiva then went to the south and found himself 5 new Talmidim, and they are the continuation of Torah Shebaal Peh. Okay, so we've seen now, we understand now the wording we mentioned. If we go back to the wording Shara Kavonos written by Reb Chaim Vital, the Talmud of Lariza, ובפרט כי רבי שמעון בר יוחאי הוא מחמישה תלמידיו הגדולים של רבי עקיבא. רבי שמעון בר יוחאי is from the 5 great תלמידים of רבי עקיבא, ולכן זה זמן שמחוסוי ביום ל"ג בעומר, כפי מה שבלי לעיל ביום ל"ג בעומר. Therefore, the day of his happiness is on ל"ג בעומר. Okay? So we've discovered why we're so happy on Lag BaOmer. Now the question is, what about Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai dying? We haven't seen any mention of this. Okay? Let's have a look at Prietz Chaim. Prietz Chaim is another sefer of one of the Talmidim of the Arizal. He writes the following. בעניין הזה, בזמן הזה, בעניין ההולך מעל הקבר רבי שמעון בר יוחאי ובלעזר בן במרון בל"ג בעומר. People go during this time to the graves of Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai ובלעזר in Meron on ל"ג בעומר. אני ראיתי למויזל 8 ימים שהולך עם אשתו ועם ביתו וישם ג' ימים ההם 8 שנים. זה 8 שנים. So he saw that Arizal 8 years previously had been to ל"ג בעומר. Had been to Meron on Lag BaOmer for 3 days. And then he carries on with the story that he gave a haircut to his son on Lag BaOmer. He brings the story of Rabbi Alevi that he said the prayer of Tishkoin or the prayer of Nachem in Shemona Esrei. He brings all the 3 stories we saw in Shara Kavanah. It's exactly the same 3 stories. And he ends off, so we see that there's a source for this minhag of going to Meron on Lag BaOmer. Right? This seems to be almost word for word what we saw in Shara Kavanis. Now he ends off. The reason is because Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai died on Lag BaOmer. Because he was one of the Talmidim of Rabbi Akiva who died during Sfiras Omer. Now this is a very strange ending.
It says he's one of the ones who died?
This is what it says. Now this is very strange, because if so, why are we being so happy? The period of Lag Sfiras Omer is when we're sad because the Talmid of Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai died.
It means he would have been one of the last, if not the last one to die.
Exactly. This is very strange. Before we give too many theories about exactly what happened, let's compare this very carefully to the source, the first source we mentioned. בפרט כי רבי שמעון בר יוחאי הוא מחמשת תלמידיו הגדולים של רבי עקיבא ולכן זמן שמחוסוי ביום ל"ג בעומר. The first source says, because he was one of the 5 great Talmidim of Rabbi Akiva, therefore the day of his simcha is Lag BaOmer. Whereas this source says that because he died, because he's one of the Talmidim of Rabbi Akiva. Now the Chidah, Chaim Yosef David Azulai, he writes in his Sefer Maris Ayin, he writes the following. He writes that it's a Torah sofa. It's a mistake. To answer all the question we've asked about the end of this source, which is very puzzling, he said that there's just simply a ches missing from the word shemes. If you add in the word shemes that he died, if you add a ches, you get the word simchas. V'atam, not shemes Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai. V'atam simchas Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai bayom Lag BaOmer, ki hu mitalmidei Rabbi Akiva hanal. Right? It's not the day that Shimon bar Yochai died. It's the day of the happiness of Shimon bar Yochai is because he's a Talmid of Rabbi Akiva.
Yeah, it's a typo.
Yes, this is what the Chidah says. Okay, so we have 2 options here. We have what's written in front of us, which says that Shimon bar Yochai is one of the Talmid of Rabbi Akiva who died on Lag BaOmer. Right? Which means that it contradicts slightly the earlier source of Sha'ar Kavonos, because the original source, which talked about the reason to be happy on Lag BaOmer, did not mention anything about Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai dying. On the contrary, Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai was a continuation of the Torah of Rabbi Akiva. The reason why we're so happy is the day of happiness of Shimon bar Yochai, because he was the continuation. After they died, Rabbi Akiva went and taught 5 new Talmidim. This is the continuation of the old tradition. The second source said that he died on Lag BaOmer, which seemed to contradict this. According to the Chidah, there's no contradiction. It's simply a typo, and it should say Simchas Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai, the day of the happiness of Shimon bar Yochai, not the day that he died. This is also mentioned by other sources. It seems to be, even though everyone says nowadays that this is the day when Shimon Bar Yochai died. It seems to be that it could well be he didn't, and probably didn't die in Lag BaOmer. It doesn't change anything about the way what people do in Lag BaOmer. As we've seen, the reason why we go to the Kever Shimon Bar Yochai is not because he died on that day. Right? This is not in doubt. It is clear that the minhag is to go to Meron on Lag BaOmer. That's clear. That we've seen the sources. It's clear that it's a day of tremendous happiness. And when one goes to Meron, it's the minhag in Eretz Yisrael to go there. Oichlim v'shosim usmeichim. One goes there, we eat and drink and be merry. The question is, why are we being so happy? And it's also clear that the reason we're being so happy is because the Torah of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and other Talmidim of Rabbi Akiva, who continued the oral law, the transmission of the oral law after the earlier Talmidim died. This is all clear. And the question is, why are we celebrating just Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai rather than the other four Talmidim? On your way to Meron, depending which direction you come, you may well pass the kever of Rabbi Yehuda Bar Eloi. It's just 5 minutes from Meron, buried 5 minutes from Meron. He was Rabbi Yehuda, one of the other 5 Talmidim of Rabbi Akiva. People just drive straight past his kever. Right? Why not stop there, eat, drink and be merry there?
Right.
Possibly because even though when it comes to the Nigla, Torah HaNigla, the revealed Torah, and Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and Rabbi Yehuda Bar Eloi are very equal. However, we have the facet of the Torah HaKabbalah. The Kabbalah, which comes specifically from Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. So he's not just one of the 5 main transmitters of the revealed Torah Shabbat Peh, he is also the transmitter of the Torah HaKabbalah. So the happiness, it was fixed at the Kever Meron. It's the day of the happiness of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and the other 5 Talmidim of Rabbi Akiva on Meron. We're celebrating the transmission of the oral law, including the Torah HaKabbalah. The only thing we're casting doubt on is that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai perhaps did not actually die on Lag BaOmer. As it seems, the Chidor mentions, it seems to be a typo, he didn't actually die on Lag BaOmer. Right? But all the practices, everything is correct. The happiness, the options, the shaving of the hair, everything is correct. Going to Meron, everyone from Lag BaOmer everyone from Eretz Yisrael flocking to Lag BaOmer on Meron is all correct. We're just suggesting that, as the Chidor already suggests, that he didn't actually die on Lag BaOmer. That seems to be a mistake.
There's another question that's raised, which we talked about earlier, and it makes it even more curious, is that if you take out Kabbalah from Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, right? He's one of the great 5 that continued the traditions of Rabbi Akiva, the oral law. I lost it now. The author, his student, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai's principal student, his name was...
Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai's student?
Yeah. Sorry, the Arizal's principal student.
Rabbi Chaim Vital.
Chaim Vital writes that he's not sure that the Arizal was steeped in Kabbalah.
Correct.
When he decided to go to...
And then we pointed out that the main reason for the happiness is because it's the continuation of the transmission of Torah Shabbat Peh.
Right.
The main reason is not connected to Kabbalah. The main reason is, that's what we mentioned, the main reason is the transmission of Torah Shabbat Peh. After all the Talmidim of Rabbi Akiva died, there was nothing written down. There was no Mishnah, there was no Gemara, nothing written down. It was orally transmitted. There seemed to be no continuation to the oral law.
Right.
The main happiness is the continuation of the oral law, of which Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was one of 5.
Right. So in a sense,
we're suggesting the reason why he was picked out of these 5 is because he was also the transmitter of the Chochmas HaKabbalah.
Right.
Which even if the Arizal wasn't yet an expert in Chochmas HaKabbalah, he did of course know that Rav Shimon Bar Yochai was the transmitter of Chochmas HaKabbalah. He may not have, at the time when he first started going there, have himself been an expert yet in that field, but he did know of course that Rav Shimon Bar Yochai was the transmitter of Kabbalah.
Right. But Chaim Vital's comment seems to me to emphasize the oral law's transmission rather than...
Correct. That's exactly what I wanted to, the point I wanted to make. Yes.
Right.
Correct.
Thank you very much.
Okay.